to estimate remaining useful life of system at asset level and system of system level, considering local and global risk scenario. That is a contextual information. What is remaining useful life? For some of the participants may not have fairly good idea. So I have a very simple schematic diagram of the remaining useful life. Let's say system is working from this point, you say expected performance. And with time, it may take any path of degradation. P1, P2, P3, and accepted limit is marked by this red line. So when it touches this point, this one, so and then you project that on the time scale, you get the expected, like X, how much, if I am the point of estimation, how long it is running. If it is a P1, X1, X2, X3. So you can model it. So you can calculate also the rate of loss of with time, how much remaining useful life you are losing. This is for a bearing, it's given like in terms of revolution and all. Second research question is health management part of the PHM. Appropriate maintenance decision and actions. Health management. What should I do when there is a problem? If I'm losing heavily my remaining useful life, why should I do it? When should I do it? Where should I do it? Lot more things like a prescriptive analytics. You do the prescription, what to be done. It should be generated. Now, to get this answer to all these two main questions, we have like a core research areas. And one area is a RAMS program, we run it. RAMS and LCC and risk analysis. We have written RAM for S because 2012, when European Commission was launching a Shift to Rail program, so we were contacted under the Innovation Program 3 for the track. So we introduced this, we said like RAMS should become RAM 4S. So we introduced 4S concept. And we are working on that. Earlier it was a RAMS, R-A-M-S, reliability, availability, maintainability, safety, security, supportability, and such. So these four were added. So we wrote this European. Since then, we are trying to work a lot more on this area because you all know security has become very critical now due to this digitalization, data-driven decisions, data sharing and all. Supportability becomes critical for infrastructure. Often it is not discussed in railway context because railway is a distributed linear assets. Like it's not in one place. So you need to decide where to put your supports, how much supports, how to reach to the logistics and all is taken care. And of course, sustainability is another issue, energy consumption, material consumption and all. So you put this RAM, how it will impact the sustainability goal of society, and thereby like energy consumptions, material consumptions, resource consumptions, and also security part. Then going back to other core areas, predictive maintenance. We were talking earlier condition-based maintenance, but when we start integrating context into the condition of a system, condition-based maintenance is only focused on the condition of the component or a system. But when you talk about predictive maintenance, so you're trying to integrate the context into your models and all. Or that becomes predictive maintenance. Then we have a e-maintenance, like utilizing the data, connectivity, cloud computing and all. And also asset management as a whole. And last 4 or 5 years, we are trying to introduce human factors because human becomes the most critical item of all these processes. When you are going for automation, human becomes the very critical components, human error, or how can deal with this. So human-machine interaction. Rather, we call it human-machine interaction. So how machine-to-machine communication, what will be the role of the human, especially with respect to reliability, prognostics, diagnostics, operation and maintenance, etc. So this is our main core area. Then how we are using this concept into your design phase. Like you understand the function, you understand the application environment, do a RAMS analysis. Then you define the maintenance program, depending, because RAMS, reliability, quality, and maintenance are closely related to each other. When we measure the reliability, you don't measure how many items are working. You measure what is the failure rate. So loss of reliability, negative measurements. Similarly, in the quality, loss of quality. So loss of quality, loss of reliability is compensated through maintenance program. We cannot have the expected reliability. Then we bring the maintenance into the pictures, like a changing of components, doing maintenance after so many years. And that provides the basis for PHM and maintenance program, because RAM is an indicators we need to have, but PHM is a program that will give us assurance for reliability assurance or maintainability assurance or availability assurance. Then we can develop this cost-effective product. That's our research core. Then in operation, it's a typical psychology model or any model. What is the state of the system? Nowcasting. Why it is in that state? Diagnostics. What will happen in next 10 seconds or 10 hours or 1 hour? That's a prognostics. And how can we manage? That's a health management program. And then our research is much more focused on how can we manage the health in this part of this. Prognostic, what is the remaining useful life, etc. All the time focus. It's a railway we are talking. Safety, environment, sustainability, and return on investment. Because if there is no money, nobody will put money. There is no return on investment, nobody will put money into that. So that's the key. Okay, now we'll be talking about RAMs and PHM in this webinar. Before we get into the RAMs, and we have also developed a framework for PHM, or a RAMs, what you call. We identified 4 distinct technologies, supportive technologies, that CMMS, sensors, all this technology you're using in train operations or like locomotives and all. But that's everyone buys the same locomotives, but some people have a better availability, better capacity on the infrastructure. Why? Because different people are using different types of optimizing actions they are taking. And RAMs provides the foundation for optimization. So optimizing technology will lead to your predictive technology. That starts the PHM parts here. So RAMs, LCC analysis, condition-based maintenance, remaining useful life estimation. But since last 4 or 5 years, or 6, 7 years, I will tell, much more focus is on developing transformative technology. Since railway has boarded the digital train, it has become much easier to introduce this new and emerging technology in railway to get the really expected capacity, design capacity, or design availability and all. That is like in transformative technology, digital twins, IoT, machine learning, and here is our main focus area now. If it is a successful, what is different between transformative and disruptive technology? When transformative technology becomes cheap, easy to use, and it becomes popular, it becomes disruptive, like a Uber became, Airbnb, etc. So this is the foundation. We'll disrupt the way railway is maintained. We'll disrupt the way railway is operated. That we are looking for continuously. And it's a continuous improvement process. Key foundation, railway is struggling to how can we converge the information silos with the operational silos. Operational technology are on the trains, like trains operated by SCADA, PLC. They have lived their own lives. Then we have information technology, type of customer waiting, how to integrate, where are the supports, how the signaling system, how many people are. So it has to converge both these two. IT must converge with operational technology to get this transformative technology and solutions for railway. And to foundation for everything is what we call this digital transformation, digitalization. Digitalization is the key. It's a foundation. So we have to go for digitalization. Then only we'll get this, what we call transformative and disruptive. But before we, like what does also, like we wrote that it integrates an interaction between 2 different systems and facilitate correct decision making, digitalization, because you can see what is happening, in real time you can see the risk, what type of risk by different decisions you are taking and all. That will be facilitated by digitalization. Now, next point was this railway domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is important. Whatever I do, why many programs have failed? The GE had a big program called Predix. They tried to implement in railway, 3 countries. India was one of them 4 years ago. Why did it fail? One of the reasons was they didn't have the full knowledge of the domain. They developed the program without understanding how railway functions, how all this infrastructure, train operator, train management systems, how these things can be connected. And even more important, what are the regulations, local regulations? What are the customer requirements? All these things has to be integrated. So domain knowledge is the key. Anyway, this is our PHM program we are developing considering all these issues. We have about more than 40 projects running, 42 exactly, on this area, connected directly and indirectly. And all these areas are starting at TRL level 3. I'm not going to explain what is TRL and all. It's like a start with the fundamental basic research. Starting the fundamental research, you develop new area and push the technology, but mostly governed by the market pull, what market want, what the contractual requirements. So start with the 2.5 actually our work, and goes up to 7. Then we have another separate center that takes from here and convert into the product and services. That's our key, research and innovation. Like we have many many companies have been built on our concepts, and some of them has been listed as one of the hot company for futures. One of the two are like Praise OIB, e-maintenance 365 earlier, smart maintenance, performance in cold, etc. There are some companies based on the centers research and all. Our infrastructure, railway research corridor, we have 40 kilometers long live corridor. Trains are moving. It's not a dead corridor. It's a live corridor, not a passive. It's active. And we do all our experiments there. We have a data center. We collect all the data. We have a condition-based maintenance lab where we develop the condition monitoring we are measuring. E-maintenance lab to provide servers and all. And last December, we started what we call AI Factory for Railway. All these labs will be brought under this umbrella, AIR, AI Factory for Railway. It's funded by the government, Swedish government, but all these projects will be brought finally on this platform. That's our goal. And we'll be developing solutions, concepts, roadmap for digitalization and all. So this is one area. Many companies are indicated into many. There are 14 partners, industrial, Alstom, Professor Darsin company. He is also connected to that indirectly on this one. This is our corridor, 40 kilometers corridor. There are many instrumentation, different places. A RAM side, we have been talking. What is the difference between RAMS and PHM? RAMS gives you what is the performance agreed contractual. It provides a basis for contractual agreement is being fulfilled or not. It identifies the weakest link and gives you also guidance for the improvement. Whereas PHM is like MSAT detection, diagnostics, prognostics, etc., and identifying uncertainty, future uncertainty, and what type of models are needed. So this is a core of these two. Like in RAMS, you try to find the failure data, discrete failure rate, mean time to failure, but here focus is on finding remaining useful life, etc. In RAM, we talk about the population of components. In PHM, we are focused on assets. I would say the train will move from point A, station A to station B or not. And if it is not moving, what are the issues? How can it be made to move? What is the best solution to deal the situation? That is it's a Professor Darsin. I was discussing with him. So that he has been clarifying these issues with us. PHM, I will know, impose utilization. We have been talking what it's doing, so I will not give time here. PHM, we have a two main data-driven model and physics-driven model. Data-driven model is more key, like what you are doing, maintenance analytics, big data analytics. But what we get from data-driven, it's like a black box solution. It doesn't include the physical models of how components fail. That's the key. So what we are trying to, we have worked a lot with the bearings in the train to developing hybrid model. So physical model and data-driven model combined, that gives us the hybrid model. We are also trying to introduce this symbolic model where case-based reasoning. We don't have solution. Both has a shortcomings. Data-driven model has its own shortcomings because it doesn't understand the physics, doesn't explain. It's based on the experience. Mostly you took the working proposition and get to the data-driven model. Physics model is based on the lab and all, but it has no information about the context information. So these two, then we introduce with the symbolic model, case-based reasoning and all, empirical understanding, that you can get a better rule understanding. That's our other focus. Big data, these 3 items, now people say 5 items, we don't get into that. This is the analytics we are doing. Okay, descriptive. What has happened and what is happening, both are important in a component. Predictive, what will happen, when it will happen. And then already I said like a management, what should I do? Why should I do? When should I do? How should I do? And to get the best possible maintenance decision and solutions. That's the role of PHM. Gives us the best possible roadmap, best possible guidance. It visualizes the risk, what risk I'm taking by taking these actions. That's the main focus here. So there are three issues here. Analytics gives us now casting. Where is the train? Which route is there available? Which on the station? There are many selections. What will happen? What has happened? Why? This is a now casting. That we did a big European project on this area, into rail. You were leading that part. And forecasting that everyone wants, remaining useful life, and health management. That's our lab actually, e-maintenance lab. Now it's merged with the AI data factory. Example, this is analytics based on the iron ore trains. And focus was on to find the flange depth of the, and this figure is taken from the one of our, what is called like a spin-off company from our group, Prejobe. It was also listed as one of the 33 top company startup in the country, innovative company and all. And we do it's like, you see the next figure you'll see. This is the predicted current degradation rate, and recommended by the manufacturers. So how can we find this one? Like dynamically, in real time, we can monitor every wagon or every train sets. And we can identify which wagon needs to be maintained when. So you can club different type of wagons and you can take it for maintenance to the nearest workshop and all. So this is the purpose of this analytics. Challenges, I have been talking. It's easy to look very sound, but there is data is the main challenge for PHM. Integration of context into rule models. Like this all explained like this. If train is moving, and if I'm 20 kilometers from the harbor, iron ore train I'm talking, if there is a bearing is showing the high temperature, shall I stop it or I reduce the speed from 90 kilometers, 80 kilometers to 40 kilometers, and I should take the train to the harbor, and their repair can be taken. So you have to understand the context. If I don't come in 3 hours, what are the penalty? If I run the train up to 3 hours and reach the harbor in 1 hour, what are the risks I'm putting? So this is a very interesting area. In fact, first time, actually, we presented a paper on this, context-driven condition-based maintenance. We didn't call that term rule. That was in 2010-11 in US. And then we started calling it context-driven rule estimation. So you integrate the requirement of customers into your rule model, into your PHM model. I think I will be nearing my time. I will be coming nearer also. Field data, not PHM. Purpose of designing PHM, it's not good. And time for degradation are very long, so it takes time. So these are challenges. Future directions, where it will, since the title is a new technology empowered, what will happen? It will greatly depend on the development in IT capabilities, IT security, how IT data can be dealt and all, and forces with respect to mobility and flexibility. 5G, everyone knows. It's almost knocking at the door many places. We have tested 5G in our bearing test one program, like in a smart bearing on in the railway. Due to this communication part, we could not get what we wanted to get. So 5G is already in place, and it will accelerate the implementation of PHM program, RAMS program, and what we call like a smart maintenance program. But what is 6G? What is difference between 4G and 5G? 4G created a human community, society. Like I started using WhatsApp, how quickly we are using. 5G is a simple man, we call it, like it will create a machine community now, machine to machine communication. Machine A will communicate with machine B. But human role will be only to watch it and see everything is done. Then what is 6G? Very few people know that. Last 3 years, 6G research is going on. And one of the leading countries, US, China, of course, is doing in Shenzhen. I was there last year visiting Shenzhen for different purposes. And Finland, the home country of Nokia, they have put 200 million euro on 6G research. And one of the purpose of 6G is to data, when you are sharing, data itself will become intelligent. It will not come to me. It will go to Mr. X or Mr. Y, depending on the need and the requirement. And also data will be optimized during the pipelines when the data pipelines will be activated. So this is a key for the next 3-4 years, 6G. Of course, robotics, automation, I will not show, power of big data, cloud computing, AI we have been talking, and development of machine community and use of social media. That's the, actually this slide I'm having for the last 10 years. I say in a 5 years, I told 10 years ago that machine will be using social media. Again, I'm telling 3 to 5 years. When 6G comes, machine will be twittering. I'm feeling bad. I have this type of overload. Everyone will tell, yes, due to the track problem or due to the change in climate or something like that. Is it not? And then may get a solution. Then whether I should run on this speed or not. So this is going to be really future here. And it is there on the knocking on the door. We are testing it. It will work. I am 200% sure, not 100. Okay, this is one example of this is a smart bearing of SKF, I will tell it. It is on the trends. We have been testing. There was a self power harvesting. Everything is there. It was developed, a lot of concept in our SKF center in Luleå. We have a condition monitoring center of SKF for developing a smart bearing, and it is being tested. Hopefully this bearing will not be monitoring its own health. So bearing can be a component, bearing can be a system, but it can be also a sensor. So this bearing was developed here and is still under development. It will become a sensor for the train. It will measure the track condition, it will measure the vehicle condition, and it will measure its own health in different way. And it will be self-power sufficient, because in a goods train, power is a big issue. And hopefully it will be connected to our AI factory. Okay, concluding remarks. An effective PHM deals not only with the whole life cycle management and cost, but facilitates integration of new technology. What I've been talking is a new technology. So this program should be self-evolving. You know, technology evolves like a living organism. Tomorrow, living after 10,000 years, it becomes different. Technology is also like that. Today it is like that. After 3 years, different technology will come. So our program should be designed to integrate things, and PHM has this probability. Like in PHM condition monitoring, we have started a big program on monitoring the materials health, like a track health at nano level. Because if crack comes, there is a changes in the atomic level, the structural change. Can I monitor it? Answer is yes. But precursor and how it can be used, like using nano voltage and all, exactly the strain gauges. So technology and PHM are very closely related. An effective PHM visualizes risks and associated utility value associated with each alternative decisions based on informed risk. That's the key. I can see it. If I'm taking the train out for maintenance now, train is in service, what risk I'm putting